And good evening, and welcome to the Coach Mark Schmidt Show, a Thursday night, and we are getting a little bit of a change here. We're going to talk with Associate Head Coach Steve Curran for this show tonight as we look back at the past 2 or 3 games St. Bonaventure has played and look ahead to Saturday's game against the University of Buffalo. First off, Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, very interesting last couple of weeks. The Bonnies, again, talking with Coach Schmidt throughout the season, a work in progress, but you're starting to see some of that progress.
Yeah, no question. You know, we've had some success recently, and it started back last Saturday with Bowling Green. You know, a good program coming from the MAC. They came in here, posed a lot of problems for us on the perimeter, and our guys adjusted well and did a really good job of playing well. And obviously, Darryl Banks had a phenomenal game, dropped 34 points. So it was a good win for us. We had a great crowd that day. It was the last time the students, I think, were here to see us play, and it was a great atmosphere, and it was a really good victory for us.
Yeah, a couple of things that came out of the game. Darryl came out of a bit of a shooting slump. Really, when you really needed it, he got loose. You designed some plays to get him loose, and he was able to come through for you. 34 points, one of the highest totals at Riley Center in the history of the building, which goes back over 50 years.
Right. You know, he was a phenomenal stat line. I think he had 4 blocks, too. And the only player that's ever done that in the Riley Center before that, and I was actually able to witness that one, was Andrew Nicholson, someone that scored over 30 points and had 4 blocks. Darryl's a phenomenal player. You know, he hadn't been shooting well, but he spends a lot of time in the gym, works hard on his game, and you know, and as everybody knows, he's has quite a career for himself in big games, and you know, hopefully, you know, that'll get him going. He's a great player and a good teammate, and our players are able to give him the ball in good situations to score.
Yeah, and the thing with Darryl is the fact that everybody knows he's the guy that you're going to go to, so they were guarding him, double-teaming him at times, trying to deny him the basketball, and still he was able to get his shots and make them, and that was a big key.
Right, it was good because, you know, and after that, because our big guys hadn't been playing very well up until that point in terms of scoring the basketball. They weren't really a threat to get double-teamed or people that really focused on our big guys. So they were locking on to our guards, Darryl, Barry, Moses, Kyrell, which has been difficult for them. But now, since then, you know, Chad and some of our other big guys have really stepped up and played well. So hopefully that'll take a little pressure off the perimeter guys.
Yeah, that was one of the other big changes. You insert Chad Venning into the starting lineup for the first time. He had been coming off the bench, supplying you with some quality minutes, and he was like the designated guy to come in when you had a very big, large center to guard.
Correct.
Chad was in there, and we saw that early in the season when Anwar Malouk started, but he had to go up against a couple of 240-pounders, so Chad got in the ball game and tried to neutralize that. But Chad has been a project, obviously, throughout the summer, throughout practice, and he's getting his chance, and he's really stepping up.
Yeah, Chad's, you know, like you said, he's adjusting. You know, he's never had this much pressure put on him. I think at this level, it was not a tough adjustment, but something that he had to get used to. You know, we practice hard. We demand a lot out of him. We expect a lot out of him. We know he could be a really, really good player at this level. And last couple of games, he's turned the corner. He spends a lot of time working on his game. He works with Coach Fisk all the time to keep his body right, and he's done a great job in terms of picking up the plays, learning the offense, adjusting to our coaching style. Defensively, when he wants to be a really good defender, he can defend. He can defend ball screens. He can block shots. He has that innate ability. He has a really nice feel around the basket. You know, and you know, we've had a lot of success with big guys around here, and you know, Chad has really good hands. He's got big hands. He can catch a lot of passes. He has really good timing. He has a nice touch around the rim. He can score over either shoulder. And he's got really, really good footwork. And I think as he continues to get in shape and continues to get more comfortable with the offense and playing the amount of minutes that he's playing, I think, you know, he's going to have a lot of big nights for us.
Yeah, and obviously, as we say, he was a project because he came in overweight,
right,
according to what Coach wanted him to be at.
Right.
So he had to work, to lose the weight, drop the weight, and then learn this whole new system. So he's done a very good job since coming on campus in the summer.
Yeah, no question. He, you know, he had a really good summer when he was up here. He shed a lot of that weight, and then he went home for a month and got a little comfortable hanging on the couch. I think he went on vacation and just didn't stop. But when he got back, it was a process, and he got through it, and he's continuing to get through it, and he continues every day to work and take care of himself. And I think he knows now like how much we're relying on him and how important he is for us to be successful. And I think he takes that seriously.
All right, let's talk about some of the other aspects of the ball game against Bowling Green. You shot the ball well, but you defended well that game too. And I think maybe the first game where you could really see the team connecting on defense, where they kind of knew where they were supposed to be and they knew where their teammates were.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think anytime you have 9 new guys, and a whole brand new starting lineup, guys that didn't play at all, that weren't even here last year. It's going to take time to adjust, and Coach Neal did a really good job with the scouting report and getting them prepared to know what they were going to do and how they were going to run offense. And we spent a lot of time preparing for that game, and the guys responded really well. And I think anytime we're 4 or 5 games into it at that point, they're starting to build a little bit more trust amongst one another and realizing that we're all connected on defense just as much as we are connected on offense. But defensively, it's even more important because offense sometimes, as you know, is fickle.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on now to Southern Indiana, a game on Wednesday night, this one without the students, Thanksgiving break. A nice turnout from the community, as has happened over the last decade or so.
Sure.
And you get a Southern Indiana team that's brand new to Division I.
Right.
But that's about the only thing brand new about it, because they had some veteran players on that team that had done well in their careers.
Correct. They were a scary team. They're going to do well I think they're in the Ohio Valley Conference, the OVC. They're a dangerous team, and they had beaten Southern Illinois, who had beaten Missouri early on in the season, and that was scary. They played Notre Dame tough prior to us playing Southern Indiana, and as we know, Notre Dame's a high-level program, and they had older guys. We have a young team, age-wise, in terms of, and obviously experience being here together, but they have a lot of older guys, a lot of fifth-year guys, a lot of guys that have had success at the D2 level. And being a D2 guy myself, coming up through those ranks early on, there's a lot of really good Division II players out there. A lot of Division II players that can transfer to our level and be impactful. And the coach there does a great job, and they play really hard. And they're kind of playing with house money right now because it's their first year in Division I. They're not afraid to play against big-time schools, and they came into the Riley Center as a team that we were really worried about.
All right, you got off to a good start in this game, and again, it was defense controlling things. But the one thing that, again, we go back to Chad Venning. He started out with a nice 15-point night against Bowling Green. Well, the next night, you don't know what you're going to get. He comes in with 21 points,
right? And
Bowling Green literally had to stop what they were trying to do defensively to stop Chad. And that left everybody else open on the perimeter.
Right. It was great for Chad to be a consistent performer that night, and it opened up things for Kyrell and some of the other guys in the perimeter. Barry's able to do some things, slashing into the basket. Darryl was solid, and Jan is continuing to play at a high level as a freshman. I think the way he rebounds the ball, and for a guy that's not unbelievably athletic, but he has a nose for the basketball, and anytime, like we talked about earlier, anytime you get a focus on stopping a big guy, it really opens up things for guys on the perimeter.
All right, and again, the good, solid defense, your team, you were out rebounding Southern Indiana, doing the things that is basically Mark Schmidt basketball. You're not turning the ball over, although there were a few more late in the game.
Right.
But as far as when you got off to that big lead, it was a lack of turnovers. It was rebounding and defending well, and then getting that quality shot on offense that seems to be the trademark of this team over the last several years. So, again, 2 good, solid wins under your belt at home, and now you get to go to not Madison Square Garden, New York City,
right? And
you get to go to a big arena.
Correct.
And this is a little bit different with Notre Dame. You've got a ACC school, undefeated, and walking into a very experienced program and team, and you really played well on Friday afternoon.
Oh, no question. Notre Dame, obviously everybody knows how the storied program, and going to that game, they have the oldest roster in Division I. They have, not that they all played because they had 1 or 2 guys that were hurt, but they have of the 5 starters, 4 of them were fifth-year players. And then they have a top 10 McDonald's All-American, J.J. Starling at the point. So it was, we knew we were going to have our hands full. we did a really good job preparing for those guys. They're a really skilled perimeter team that can really score the basketball. And our guys really followed the game plan, and then they were up for the challenge. And I think, as you know, you say Madison Square Garden because the NIT, but we had phenomenal support. It was like a home game again, and that becomes kind of a broken record, but it's something that this group has never really experienced before. I know Chad Benning and Darryl, and they had family there, so it was kind of cool because they're from the metropolitan area. But we had phenomenal support, and our guys believed that they could beat them. And we hung our hat on our defense. I mean, we really defended a really, really good offensive team. And, obviously Chad had a big night, and Jan had a big night rebounding the ball, and we made timely shots. We didn't shoot the ball great, but, Kyrell stepped up big and made some big shots down the stretch. Darryl hit a huge three when we had that fluke play when we tipped the ball in our own they tipped the ball up in the air and it went in the basket. Darryl came down and hit a three, and then, we defended them. We kept their big-time players. We frustrated them all night long, and I think we scored the first basket of the game, and I don't think you ever look back.
No, you didn't. And we're going to take a break right now on the Coach Mark Schmidt Show. It's brought to you by 4 Mile Brewing, and we invite you to go down there Friday night. 4 Mile Brewing is going to have a watch party for the St. Bonaventure women's game. So get down there about 6 o'clock tomorrow night and watch the women's teams play. They've also got some other events coming up this weekend. You can check out their website for more information. Back with more in just a moment on the Coach Mark Schmidt Show.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign, not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
We're back on the Coach Mark Schmidt Show, live on 95.7 WPIG, and then check out GoBonnies.com later for the video version of the show. Steve Curran, the associate head coach, joins us here for the show this evening. Let's get back to the Notre Dame game. Did you said the team prepared well. Did you have a feeling the morning of the game that you were going to do well? Because I had that feeling just watching the shoot-around. The way that the guys were practicing, I said, you know what?
Really?
We got a chance here.
I never feel good about it, honestly. I always, I knew our guys had confidence. They had 1-2 in a row. I think they were excited to play in the venue that we were playing in. The UBS Arena is a big-time arena. And I think our guys were confident. But I just, as long as I've been doing this, I still have no idea or no feel for how we're going to come out and perform. But I was confident our guys wouldn't back down, and I was confident that our guys were ready to play, and they knew what they were supposed to do to win the game. Anytime you go from playing in, not that we play in small arenas, but they're comfortable in the Riley Center, then you go to a big venue with a different backdrop. Shooting the basketball can be difficult, and obviously playing a team like Notre Dame that's really skilled and that can really shoot the ball. I thought, and they play in a bigger arena, obviously, on their own campus, so I thought they might have a little bit of an advantage shooting the basketball, but it was the exact opposite. Our defense had a lot to do with that in terms of stopping them from making shots, and at the same time, although we didn't shoot it great, we made timely shots, and, we were just a better team.
You basically reversed the three-point shooting percentages. They went 2 for 17.
Correct.
You had 10 three-point shots. I think you shot 45% from the three-point line, and any coach in Division I will take 45% from the three-point line any night.
Absolutely, no question. And as well as it was, in terms of percentage-wise, they were timely ones, like we said earlier, making big shots when they went on a little bit of a run, which kind of deflated, their spirit, Notre Dame's spirit a little bit. Yeah,
you mentioned Jan Farrell, who was the reigning Rookie of the Week at the time, coming off some great performances he had. The double-double at South Dakota State, and then a couple of solid games against Bowling Green and Southern Indiana. He comes in and he has 10 rebounds at halftime.
Right.
So, and Notre Dame is not known for hitting the offensive glass anyway, but still, he seems to be in the right position at the right time, and no better time than that putback he had when Notre Dame was making a little bit of a run in the second half. It was a wild shot that missed everything except the backboard, and he was right there to pick it up.
Yeah, I remember because I remember seeing it happen. But yeah, Jan, surprisingly to I think, speaking for the rest of the coach staff, he just has a nose for the ball. He's not an unbelievable athlete off of his feet, but he's a strong kid. He's a tough kid. He is a prideful kid, and I think he wants to help as much as he possibly can, and he's a really, really good shooter. He's a solid defender, and he just wants to rebound, and he just proves that, like, if you go after the basketball, you don't have to be a phenomenal athlete or a great jumper. He just goes after it. He rips it out of his own teammates' hands. I mean, not selfishly, but I think he just does that because he knows how important it is to rebound. And we preach it every day in practice. We want to out-rebound our opponent by 8, 9, 10 rebounds a game. And Jan is definitely doing more than his part in terms of rebounding the basketball.
All right, one thing I've noticed with this team, too, and I don't know if it's because they're still learning the offense, learning the system, but an extremely unselfish team. There was a couple of plays, and we go back to Chad, he was dominating inside. He was the strongest man on the floor in the paint. Mm-hmm. But there was a key spot. In fact, one of the threes that Kyrell Luke got was a throwback from Chad because he knew he wasn't going to be able to get the shot off, so he pitched it back out to Kyrell, who calmly knocked down a three-point shot and got you a double-digit lead back.
Yeah, that was a big-time play. Chad was in the post. He was pivoting around, looking to try to find a window to score. I think they might have had 3 guys on him at that point, and he saw Kyrell spotting up. Threw it right out, right, perfect pass, hit him right in the hands, and Kyrell does what he does, makes big shots.
All right, so 3 wins in a row going into the Middle Tennessee State game, 4-2 early in the season, and you're probably like 1 free throw and a more evenly called game for being 6-0 this early in the season with this team that is still learning how to play St. Bonaventure basketball.
Yeah, there's been our record is 4-2, and the South Dakota, the Canisius game was a tough loss. I know. I think we learned a lot from that particular game. Then a quick turnaround, going out to South Dakota State and playing them in a hostile environment, basically a home game for them with 3,000, 3,500 people there, basically from South Dakota. We learned a lot that way too, and to be 4-2 at this point, as coaches, we wish we were 6-0, and I think we're a couple possessions, like you said, away from being in that position. But I think we've learned a lot, and we have a long way to go, and we're excited about the upcoming games. And if we get, Rumpel's getting back into the swing of things, his foot's starting to heal up a little bit, and we got another guy that has some toughness and some ability that can make plays for other guys. I think the next few weeks before Christmas, we have a chance to really to improve.
All right, let's talk about the fact that you work with the big men. That is one of your many duties with this basketball team. Dave Moore, obviously, when he was here, was the guy who coached the big men. You coach the big men. Now, you've got some guys to work with this year, and I think there's used to be Dave would have 2 guys down there, and the other 11 guys the guards would be at the other end. You've got 3 or 4 guys that you're working with. They all have different skill levels. And it's got to be very interesting to work with them. Yeah,
it's been fun. It's been a challenge. We have, obviously Chad, probably most productive guy, obviously at this point. He's a big, strong player that's has a lot of confidence in his game, has a lot of ability around the basket. Then we get some other guys like Milian, who's a redshirt freshman, who's learning the game, but he's athletic. He can block shots. He can run. And then Max and obviously Anwar are both capable players, and it's been fun. We have a lot of competition during practice. We try to work on 2 or 3 moves during practice, which they're going to use in a game, and see some carryover in that. And it's been fun to work with those guys. They're responding. They're learning how to work hard. They're learning how to defend the way we want them to defend, and it's been fun. It's been really fun.
It has to be interesting when you get 4 new guys to come in. Now, obviously, Anwar was here last year and did work with you, but those 3 guys coming in, they all have different skill sets. Anwar more, he could play the inside game, but he's a slasher to the basket.
Sure.
You've got Chad and Max who play with their back to the basket, and Melian's going to be a project, but from what I see, he is showing some great strides too.
Right, yeah, he's, Milian, it would have benefited Milian a lot if he was here this summer. He had some stuff that he was still trying to work on. So he was kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit, but when he got here, he embraced the coaching. I think he really, really, really likes it here. He's an enthusiastic kid, and the sky's the limit for him. And if we can keep him around here for 4 more years after this year, I think he could be another one that's one of those great shot blockers that can finish around the basket. And You know, Max is starting to learn, like, we're going to use Max, and he needs to he's still keep working and getting confidence in himself. And you know, the way Chad's turned the corner, it's been fantastic. And, you know, I still think Anwar is going to find minutes, and he can block shots, he can score with his jump hook. He's as athletic as you get at this level. And, you know, like they're all going to have their moments. You know, Chad's had his moments in the sun the last couple of games. Hopefully he can continue to do that, but there's going to be a time when some of these other guys are going to have to step up, and I think they're preparing themselves every day to get better.
All right. Obviously, recruiting has been a major thing, and no more than this past year, because you were behind the 8 ball when all of a sudden you thought you had a team and then you didn't.
Right.
And you and Sean and Chris and Mark out on the road finding anybody who wants to come to Bonaventure.
Right.
Talk about that period from like late April to the start of summer school. You were still recruiting up to that point.
Right. It was crazy. Like like all the guys that we have here now, we thought were going to be backups to the guys that were going to come back. Imagine that team. Yeah. I don't know if they would have came if they knew those guys were going to be here, but that was like the blueprint, like the game plan. We're going to try and find a backup for Oshun, backup for, you know, Kyle, blah blah, and it didn't work out. You know, they decided that they wanted to try to go somewhere else, and, you know, they had great careers here and gave us a lot of success. And but yeah, we were scrambling. It was late April when those guys hit the portal, and there was still some really good players in the portal. You know, Darryl Banks being one of them, Kyrell, who was Rookie of the Year in the Patriot League, Anquan, who we haven't really talked about, who was you know, Rookie of the Year in the Northeast Conference. So there was some good talent left out there, and, you know, obviously we had recruited Chad a little bit out of high school, but, you know, some of the things that we talked about earlier didn't excite us enough to go on him. And then we saw him develop at Morgan State a little bit. Those guys did a really good job getting him better. And, you know, we just worked. You know, myself, Coach Lowe, Coach Neal, Papano, Coach Schmidt, obviously. We just, you know, the word that's used is grind, but we grinded, and we were able to get the right guys here, and you know, they started to gel. And, you know, it's never an exact science, but, you know, I think we're pretty excited about this group. You know, and I think the good thing about it is a lot of them already transferred once, so they really don't have too many options. You know, who knows with the NCAA, whether they change it, but a lot of them, not that they're stuck here, I think they're happy to be here, but I think, you know, we have a solid foundation as this group continues to develop. You know, we're excited about them, because the one thing that and you know, you've been around longer than I have, Gary, guys under Coach Schmidt, they're going to get better. If they stick it out for 4 years, 3 or 4 years, they're going to get better, and you know, and we'll continue to add good players in next year's recruiting class. But this group that we have, I think we've done a really good job, considering we're up against it a little bit.
All right, we'll take another break. We'll come back with more on the Coach Mark Schmidt Show. We'll wrap things up in just a moment.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're back on the Coach Mark Schmidt Show, once again brought to you by 4 Mile Brewing of Olean. Steve, we've got a game coming up on Saturday. A traditional rival has turned out to be now.
Sure.
Used to be they were the practice team. They were the scrimmage team that we would do before the season started, but they got out of that, made it a regular thing, and now the University at Buffalo makes it, I guess they call it the Big Four now instead of the Little Three. So UB, we've had some great games with UB. Reggie Witherspoon started there. Jim Witzel's the coach now. They have put together a solid program, and it's always an interesting game when these two teams get together.
Right. And, you know, we look at it as they're as good as any team we're going to play this year. You know, they're coming off, they've won 2 in a row. They were down in the Virgin Islands, and they got up to a slow start down there, but they beat George Mason, who's a really good team in our conference. Right. And then they beat Canisius by 20 on Sunday, I believe. We struggled with Canisius, so we're going on the road. We haven't had a true road victory yet. You know, obviously the Notre Dame win was a huge win, but it was on a neutral court. So we, you know, in order to have a successful season, we always tell our guys, you need to win all your home games, and you got to steal a few on the road. Now, what a great opportunity for us to go up to the University of Buffalo and have a solid road victory. They're coming off they haven't played since Sunday, so they've been preparing for us all week to get ready to play us, and it'll be a big game, big crowd. We're expecting a lot of our fans to be up there on Saturday, and they're a totally different team too. Last year they came in here with a lot of experience.
Right.
And we took Jalen Attaway to hit a game-winning three.
Yes.
For us to win that game, and they're kind of like us in the same situation. They got a lot of new players that are starting to learn how to play together, and they've had some disappointing losses early, but the last two games, they'd be two quality opponents.
All right, in the past, UB's been a team that loves the transition game. They love to get the ball, get down the court, score within the first 2 or 3 seconds of the shot clock, and then press you all the way down the court trying to get the ball back. Is that
right?
You're looking at that?
Yeah, they don't press as much as they have in the past. At least we haven't seen that yet. But they have really good athletic guys. They don't have a ton of presence inside, which makes me happy because we can probably get the ball to Chad. But they have really good guards. They have athletic guys. They want to play downhill. They want to play fast. They want to play downhill, like you were saying. They got this kid, Curtis Jones, who's a terrific junior college player from Indian Hills, who played behind Segou last year, learned the system. He's a really good player now. They got a Division II transfer, kid, Marnie Foster, that played for our buddy Joe Lombardi down at.
Okay.
Good player. And they got a transfer from Central Florida, from Conference USA, who's a really good player. Isaiah Adams. Kazid Powell, who's a really good junior college player. Just attacking guys that want to play fast, downhill. And if we can keep them above the free throw line in terms of dribble penetration, we'll have a really good opportunity to win that game.
All right, well, Steve, thank you very much. And again, that game coming up Saturday at 2:30. And we'll have the game for you on the Big Pig with our pregame show starting at 1:45. That wraps up the show. We will be back in a couple of weeks with the Coach Mark Schmidt Show on 95.7 The Big Pig.